Diabetes doesn't take everything at once. It nibbles away until it's the straw that breaks the camel's back.
My mother, she didn't get a warning. Don't wait for that time.
When you get diagnosed with diabetes, it seems like it's minimized.
1 in 10, 38 million have either diagnosed or undiagnosed diabetes in America. This is a silent epidemic. You had to go through a progressive amputation. Did they tell you that if you'd gone in sooner that this was preventable?
Well, they didn't have to tell me that. I know.
All of the parameters of diabetes are in fact reversible through the protocol diabetes reversal group.
The number one feedback that I get from patients who are doing DRG is they can't believe how easy it is.
You don't have the time, so make the time.
I have a question for you right off the top. What is the biggest threat that you as an American face every day? United States Secretary of Health and Human Services, RFK Jr., commented just a few months back, we've lost almost 10 years in longevity and lifespan to the Europeans. Shocking, right? Well, not really. Today, 6 out of 10 Americans live with at least one chronic disease. 4 out of 10 live with more than one. That's right, if you're an adult in America, you are likely to have a chronic disease. Heart disease, cancer, stroke, diabetes, all can carry a life sentence. Now, we've built a system that's very good at managing illness, but very bad at beating it. But here's some good news. Of all the chronic diseases, there is one that is 100% reversible when treated properly. Type 2 diabetes. That's why we have teamed up with the top diabetes reversal experts in the country, Dr. Jeffrey Hawkins and Dr. Christine Burke of the Diabetes Reversal Group for this very important episode. Now, you may think you know a lot about type 2 diabetes, but do you really? There's a type 2 diabetes quiz on my X page, and thousands of you have taken it already. And if you haven't, you can do so right now by going to my X page. We're going to discuss the answers throughout today's episode, but first, I want to make one thing crystal clear. Type 2 diabetes is not something that only happens to other people. So if you think, well, this one's not about me, so I'll catch the next episode. No. You need to listen because this is a silent epidemic in America, and chances are better than not that it's impacting you or somebody you love. Case in point, Lavar Ball. Does that name ring a bell? He was a college basketball player and a professional football player. He is the father of 2 NBA stars, Lonzo Ball and LaMelo Ball, and musician LiAngelo Ball. Now, Lavar is the CEO of the sports apparel company Big Baller brand. But I want to talk about what has really hit Lavar more than anything in his life, and that's diabetes. It hit him harder than anything he ever faced on the field, on the court, or in the business world.
When I look at my life, my business, my brand, my sons, I describe Lavar Ball as great. My boys, they some monsters, boy. I love them to death. I told them they was great since they came out the womb. I told them they was born to go pro. And my boys think I'm gonna live forever. I already put it in them. He said, man, my dad's the strongest man on 2 feet. Now I'm the strongest on 1 foot, but who cares? I was diagnosed with diabetes, it was like 1.5 years, 2 years. I got a blister on the bottom of my foot in the summer. It got infected, it started off brown, but then it turned black. And then the disease kind of came on top of my foot. And I was like, oh man, I never had no blister. This is getting widespread. They said, man, the poison is in your blood. Then they took off some more on my ankle, and then they're gonna cut it a little below my knee. And it was giving me these blood transfusions as they was doing it. And I was like, man, I'm done with this. I thought I was gonna be in the hospital for 1 day. I was in there for a whole month. It sucks having 1 foot, but it'd suck even more if your ass was dead. I'm 58, but I got some folks that's in their 50s like me that's gone. I look at it like, man, all I lost was a foot. I'm doing good. I'm the big baller, I'm strong, I just keep on moving.
I'm a big fan. I like the way you roll.
I like the way you roll too. Feel the real deal.
That's right. I like you being bold and brash. I've watched what you've been doing. Your sons, you must really be proud of all three of them.
Yes, yes, most definitely.
Well, congratulations on all of your success. And I love the fact that you're willing to use your life and your circumstance to impact the world and talk about something that can save lives and a lot of suffering with people. So thanks for giving back and being willing to talk about what's going on.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you too.
People know you as a larger than life figure and a bold and brash businessman, the architect of your son's basketball careers. What they might not know is that you recently dealt with a really life threatening situation.
Yes, I had I thought it was just a blister on my foot in the summer, and I'm just like, I walked on this hot cement and then it blistered up my foot. But I never took care of it because I'm thinking it's just a blister. I'll be all right. And having that infection get into my foot and not really worried about it for months, not knowing, hey, this diabetes, this ain't no joke.
Had your doctor told you that you were diabetic or even pre diabetic before that?
No, I never go to the doctor unless I'm hurt.
This is a silent epidemic that looms in people's bodies and they don't know about it. And you're a perfect example of that.
Yes, most definitely. You know, with my persona, I'm thinking I'm the toughest thing on 2 feet, but now the toughest on 1 foot. But anyways, I keep rolling.
Once you got to the point that your foot was a problem and you went into the hospital, were you shocked to find out that it was as serious as it was?
I you know what? I think whatever happens is gonna happen. So I'm not gonna say I was shocked, but I knew it was getting bad.
You actually had to go through a progressive amputation of your foot.
Yes,
First, it was the toes, then the foot, then the leg.
yes, and that's what makes it even crazier. Because like I said before, first they took off a couple of toes, and they said, the poison is still going through your blood, but if it gets to your bones, uh-oh, you out of luck. So then they took off my ankle. Then they said we got to go a little bit below the knee. So I'm just like, man, I had enough of this. I'm ready to shut it down.
Do you think this was preventable? Did they tell you that if you had gone in sooner that this was preventable?
Well, they didn't have to tell me that. I'd known. It could have been prevented very easily.
What message do you want to send to men like yourself that could keep them from being in your situation? Not all of them would have your bounce back. Not all of them would have your strength and resiliency. What's the message you want to send?
The message I want to send is go get checked. Some of this stuff can be preventable. The good thing is, I think by me saying go get checked, some folks are going to listen. Because if it can happen to the big ball, it can happen to anybody. And trust me, it has. I'm just the only one that's on this platform talking about it.
This is so prominent in America right now, and there are so many people that are diabetic or pre diabetic headed that direction that if they get checked and if they intervene with this, they can stop it in its tracks. They can actually reverse the disease if they intervene and take responsible steps to do it. And your willingness to talk about it can have a huge impact. You can really use this story and your life to make a difference in people's lives. And I've seen it happen so many times. They look at somebody like you and say, hey, if he can say this and he can do what he has to do, then I can certainly do what I have to do. So you're using your life in a powerful way by talking about this.
Yes, most definitely. Because everybody else want to talk about all the good things. And then when you talk about something negative, they just either push it to the side or it jumps to the moon. Hey, I got to go through the rest of my life with a kickstand. That's the way I look at it now. But it could have been prevented. I could have still been, hey, strolling with 2 feet. But now I got to hop along or roll along. But it's all good, long as I get on.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. And that's the resiliency that can inspire people to step up and do something about it. But 38 million people have either diagnosed or undiagnosed diabetes in America right now. That's 1 in 10. And almost 100 million people That's more than 1 in 3 are pre-diabetic, means they're right on the level. They're right on the threshold of going into diabetes. So if you can reach people with your story, man, you can save a lot of suffering. So God bless you for talking about this. Give my best to your boys. I appreciate you being here and talking about this so people know how bad this can get, but that it's manageable and actually reversible. So thank you for talking about this. I really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you, Dr. Phil. Thank you. Appreciate you very much, man. And like I said, between me and you, I know we can touch some people's lives.
You bet. You bet. I look forward to seeing you down the road, my friend. Lavar's story is hard to hear, but it is not rare. And here's the part that matters most. What happened to him, as he said, did not have to happen. And next, we're going to meet the doctor who figured out how to do that, how to reverse type 2 diabetes for good.
The whole system right now is set up to manage type 2 diabetes, not to reverse it. When people get the cancer diagnosis, everybody freaks out, like, oh my gosh, cancer. Like everybody, their attention goes on max. But when they get diagnosed with diabetes, it seems like it's minimized.
I'm one of those people that believes that old sayings get to be old sayings because they're profound. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. That is really true. It's so important that you hear what we're talking about today. And joining me now are Dr. Jeffrey Hawkins, CEO and co-founder of Diabetes Reversal Group, his wife Tracy Hawkins, president and co-founder of the Diabetes Reversal Group, and Dr. Christine Burke. Dr. Burke is a triple board-certified physician and chief medical officer at the Diabetes Reversal Group. Tracy, you lost your father to complications from diabetes. I'm sorry for your loss, by the way, of course. But when you lose someone to a preventable disease, you can do one of two things. You can either just be down and bitter about it, or you can use that as fuel to say, I'm going to use this as energy to try and keep other people from going down that same path. And that's exactly what you're doing. This has propelled you forward even more. What do you say to yourself about this?
Diabetes is such a sneaky disease. It sneaks up on people. It stole my dad's life. He wasn't willing to change his lifestyle until the end. His last days, he actually told me he made a mistake and he should have done that.
I had an aunt who died of it. Her father passed away. He had it for a lot of years. And we know it's reversible. When people get the cancer diagnosis, everybody freaks out, like, oh my gosh, cancer. Like everybody, their attention goes on max. But when they get diagnosed with diabetes, it seems like it's minimized. Just take these meds, watch what you eat, you'll be fine. They don't maximize how severe it is. We're doing the show to get the word out more to people watching that it's not a curse. This is not something you have to live with the rest of your life. You can reverse it, and we've got a great program. Results speak for themselves. We've been doing it for 16 years, and we just want to help more people and reach more and let them know there is hope. Let us help them.
And this isn't something that some people can do. This is something that everybody can do. Everybody can reverse this. And we're not saying go dump all your meds in the trash can or the toilet and hit flush. You do this in concert with your general practitioner, your internal medicine specialist, whoever. You do this responsibly, right?
Absolutely. As their numbers come down, you'd go back to your doctor. Your numbers no longer support the meds that you're on, and they get decreased. It's all done safely and in response to what's happening in your body.
This is not one size fits all. This is customized to the individual to fit their medical profile, their biochemistry. This is a customized program.
Yeah, and the other piece to that is this program, this system that Diabetes Reversal Group uses works for people who are on insulin as well. So it's not just people who are on oral medications, but we can see people on insulin eliminate their need for insulin.
I really want to put a frame around the increased risk for all the other diseases associated with diabetes, because I think if people understand that if they allow their type 2 diabetes to progress, that their risk factor for kidney failure, cancer, hypertension, stroke, blindness, all of these things just ratchet up and up and up as each year goes by. They're just playing Russian roulette with all these other diseases. The diabetes is the engine that's pulling the bad train, and if they stop this engine, they reduce their risk on all of these other diseases as well.
And it's not just diabetes, but prediabetes also increases your risk for many of these conditions. Hemoglobin A1C of 5.5 to 6.5, your risk of a heart attack doubles. That's before you're even told or before you even meet the criteria for being diabetic. So the damage is really substantial even before we reach the finish line where we call it a disease.
Yeah, and that's 98 million people in America as we sit here today.
That's right.
You can reverse the disease of diabetes, but you can't reverse a lot of the damage that has already been done to the organs by people that put it off for a month, another year, another 2 years. So the sooner they get involved with the diabetes reversal group and stop that damage occurring, that's that much less damage that's been done. Some of that damage can repair and it can improve, but you don't want that damage occurring to those organs. So you don't want to put this off because you're just digging a deeper hole. Is that a fair statement?
That's an exact statement. Perfectly said.
Yeah, and so I don't want people thinking, well, I'm doing okay. I'll get to this after our summer trip. No, you don't want to get to this after your summer trip. You want to get to this right now.
To your point, if we catch it soon enough and we reverse it, not only will the diabetes go away, a lot of that organ damage will start to repair as well, which is really important.
Yeah, that's why the coaching and accountability is so important.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have that person there in your corner, holding your hand, walking you through it every step of the way. Encourage them when they're doing something great when the blood sugar comes down. Get on their butt a little bit when their blood sugar is not coming down. Very, very important because they don't have to go to a doctor's office once a week for a checkup. They have their coach available 5 days a week, unlimited. Whenever there is an issue, they're there for them. And because it's telemedicine, we can reach every diabetic now in the United States. And now we're actually expanding into India. So it's a very, very exciting time for us right now to help more diabetics.
So many people tell me that even when they have the best intentions, they get out and get confused. One of the things that the Diabetes Reversal Group does is you put the dots real close together, so it's very hard for them to get off track from confusion or lack of information. You give them information so they can't unintentionally make a mistake.
Yeah, we have the only patented system in the world that reverses type 2.
Right.
And what we got patented was our specific list of foods you can eat and not eat. So there's no guessing. As you said, they know exactly what they can and can't have. We provide nutritional supplements as well to help out. So all of that together is kind of the secret sauce that helps them get better. So when they are shopping, they can send us ingredient lists so we can look at that and see if it's okay or not okay. So their coach is there every step of the way for them.
When you're eating the foods that are right for your metabolism, you can eat nearly as much as you want, almost unlimited amounts of the right foods. So there isn't hunger. It's not about restriction or denial. The number one feedback that I get from patients who are doing DRG is they can't believe how easy it is. They thought that it was going to be very difficult, and by week 3, they're like, I can't believe how easy this is. It's so easy to do. And the second most common thing is I can't believe how much energy I have.
It's not a diet and you're never hungry. So if you are hungry, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
So that's really important because with any kind of lifestyle change, that's the biggest thing that keeps people falling off the wagon from a lifestyle change is they're always hungry. Oh, I hate this diet. When's it going to be over? Because they're only eating like 1,000 calories a day like a bird. You can't sustain that the rest of your life. It's impossible. Yeah. Your willpower is going to fall. But when you're never hungry, it's like, oh, that's not that hard. I thought it was going to be much harder. That's what's really cool about it.
The one thing that she wasn't going to do was sacrifice her foods and what she loved. She used to always say, well, at least I know it's going to kill me. And it literally did.
I want you now to please welcome NFL Hall of Famer Marshall Faulk. Now, Marshall is also a national spokesperson for the Diabetes Reversal Group. Why are you so passionate about diabetes?
I don't want people to experience what I experienced watching my mother pass away because of something that could have been prevented if she just wasn't let's say, culturally adverse to just taking medicines, let alone trying a program like this. I believe if this program was around and I knew about it, this would have been something that I could have had a conversation with her about, and maybe she would have taken this path compared to, she just wasn't having it with the meds. She just didn't believe, she didn't like how they made her feel. They were not something that she believed was going to help her or prolong her life.
Did she make efforts on her own to try and control?
Not really. I mean, being from New Orleans, you know the food and the culture down there. You're eating rich foods. It's a lot of cream. I mean, I believe the epidemic of diabetes in just New Orleans alone is extremely high. And the one thing that she wasn't going to do was sacrifice her foods and what she loved. She used to always say, well, at least I know it's going to kill me. And it literally did.
You always sort of hear people say those sort of things, but they don't really think it's going to happen, right? There is a denial to it. It's like, that happens to other people, I'll be okay.
Yeah, yeah, and that was definitely my mom. She was tough. She raised me and my 5 brothers, and diabetes wasn't something that she believed would take her out. You know, she just thought it was something that she just had to kind of manage in a sense of ignoring it. Like, I'm not going to take my medicine. I'm going to eat. I'm going to feel bad sometimes. I'm going to get over it. And that just didn't happen.
For families that are watching somebody do okay, you know, take their meds, manage it, and do okay, you don't have a chance to get a do-over with your mom. For families that are watching a loved one kind of muddle along and do okay, what would you say to them now?
This program, when you hear about it and you hear about the results, as we heard about today, you understand and you learn that it's not just helping people out, it's reversing it. It's making them better. And now their quality of life, they can see it. And then you start to make the incremental changes in your diet. And when you see that it's prolonging your life, it's easier to make that change. I think that my mom, she probably would have bargained and negotiated, maybe on the weekends compared to every day, ate the rich food that we have in New Orleans, but she wasn't given that chance.
I said at the top of the show that this was a silent epidemic because it works from the inside out. And if you had a broken leg right now, an acute crisis, you would deal with it right now. But this is something that, because it's not creating an immediate, acute, emergent crisis, it's so easy to say, I'll deal with that later. I'll put that off later. I'll deal with that later. What do you say to those people?
Man, I tell them, don't wait for that time, because my mother, she didn't get a warning. Literally, when you have diabetes and it goes untreated, it forms clots, and the blood clot in her leg broke off, and literally killed her like that. There wasn't suffering, it wasn't pain or anything like that, and you don't have the time. So make the time, and whether it's taking your meds or looking at this program, you have to do something. You have to be proactive. Ignoring it doesn't make it better.
If your mother had reversed this disease in her life, do you think she might still be here?
She'd be here with us right now because she watched you religiously. She'd be here right now.
That's a good mother.
Indeed.
That's a good mother. I'm sure she quoted me to you, and I apologize for that. But as someone that had so much discipline in your life, in keeping yourself in shape, getting faster, getting better, getting stronger, it gains momentum, right? Once you do it and you start living that way, it gets easier because it becomes a way of life and it gains momentum.
Right, and that's the thing. People think with something like this is something that you just do. Nah, it's a lifestyle change. You literally, you change your life, you see your life, you see you're living a better life, and then you're like, okay, this is it. This is exactly how I'm going to live my life. Does this mean you don't have some of the foods? No, but it's not a part of your everyday life to where you're just like, you're splurging all the time.
Yeah, you're not going to become a monk. You don't suffer the rest of your life. You just change your lifestyle in a pattern. Marshall, thank you so much for being here and talking about this, because it's a voice of clarity and real life stories that make people listen up and come to the focus that they need. And before we go to break, I have a question for you. Type 2 diabetes can only be managed with medication, true or false? And when we come back, we're going to add another voice to this important conversation.
But I had the diabetes and I was trying to control it. And it was always medication, medication. I thought, there's gotta be a better way.
Well, the question was, type 2 diabetes can only be managed with medication, true or false? And here's how thousands of you responded. 8% said true, 92% said false. And the answer, of course, is false. So I'm glad to hear you say that, but sorry to not see you doing it. Big difference between knowing and doing. So we're going to talk about the doing part. I want to welcome to our conversation Darlene. Darlene, you heard Lavar. You took a very different path. But as you listen to his story, do you have any doubt that you could have been in a similar place to where he was if you had stayed in denial about where you were?
Definitely, definitely.
What was going on with you?
For me, I had neuropathy in my foot,
Right.
first of all. But I had the diabetes and I was trying to control it. And it was always medication, medication. I thought, there's gotta be a better way. There's gotta be. And I'm a truth seeker. So I listened to all kinds of different podcasts. I bought books. And then DRG popped into a webinar on my computer and it was life-changing. I didn't feel good. I wasn't the person I've always been. I think I had a form of depression. Mm-hmm. I am very an upbeat person. I like to be positive as much as possible. And I really felt it pulling me down.
And when were you first diagnosed?
I was diagnosed in 2000. It was close to Christmas, which is ironic. And I always baked. I had said to my husband I wasn't feeling well. And he said, you know, it's been a while since you've been to the doctors. And I went in. My doctor said, what are your symptoms? And I said, I'm tired all the time. I can't get enough sleep. And I said, can't get enough liquids. I said, I just don't feel myself. So he knew right away.
How common is this kind of a story where people are starting to experience the symptoms of type 2 diabetes kind of draining their life energy, going to a doctor, getting the diagnosis, and they start managing it with medications? They get the numbers a little better, but they don't feel a whole lot better.
Well, it's very common. Like 99% of diabetics, once they get the diagnosis, what are they told to do? Take this pill, watch what you eat, you'll be fine. And so the problem is it seems like it's minimized as far as how severe it is. And so then it keeps progressing. Then you go back 6 months, a year later, oh, now you got to add this pill. Now you got to add this. Now you got to add this. So it's very, very common that people go through that scenario. And the whole system right now is set up to manage type 2 diabetes, not to reverse it.
Look, I hate to sound like a cynic here, but Big Pharma sells these medications. So, of course, that's the model. They sell the medications to manage it, so they manage it. But I want to talk about the difference between managing diabetes and addressing what's really driving it.
Well, again, as you said, that's the whole system. It's all about management. Once you get the diagnosis, you're put into medications, and it goes all the way back to medical school, right? Medical doctors aren't trained how to reverse type 2 diabetes. They're trained how to manage it with meds. So when they get out of school, open up their practice, they get diabetics coming in, they get the diagnosis, and what do? They do what they were trained to do, which is prescribe the medications. And as you keep getting worse, all they're trained to do is keep increasing the dosage of the medication. Then, of course, the complications happen. Now you get cardiovascular disease, et cetera. Next thing you know, you're on 6 or 7 medications when you first start out with one, and that's the whole ball game right there.
And these meds aren't without side effects themselves, right? Listen, I'm not telling anybody to stop taking your medication. I'm not telling you that. Whatever you do, you want to do in consultation with your doctor. You want to make sure that you're doing what you need to be doing. But understand that there are alternatives to this, and you came across that alternative when you discovered the diabetes reversal group.
Yes.
They took a different approach to this and said, we don't want to manage this, we want to reverse it. We want to get this out of your life.
Yep.
How did that affect you? when somebody said, hey, you don't have to live with this?
It was the light was finally there, something that I could achieve on my own without medication. Now I had to wean myself off, and we made sure my numbers, had been good for so long. And then I'd go to my family physician and say, these are my numbers. And he'd take away a pill. And then he'd take away another one. I got rid of high blood pressure, and I'd had an ulcer for 20 years. I no longer had to take ulcer medication. I could eat food without throwing up in the morning because I'd forgotten to take that. So that ulcer had also healed itself because I was healing my body. And it made a difference. My doctor was alongside me. He knew I wanted the alternative. I didn't want the medication. I wanted to feel better.
You didn't really know where to start and how to do this, but you don't have to do this alone, is the point I'm making here.
No, you're right.
When you're getting into this reversal group, there's a lot of structure here. There's a lot of things that I can tell you from a psychological standpoint, when you're going to affect a lifestyle change in a sustainable way, then your environment, your support system, everything around you, everybody has to be supporting that. It's harder to do if you're just on your own, say, all right, I'm going to bear down and do this.
Well, and the nice thing is when I contacted DRG, they said your spouse or your significant other has to be involved. That was amazing. So my husband's on board. He's my support right in my home. But I had the support of everybody else at DRG and my coach. And when I needed that tough love, he was there to give it to me, to keep me on track.
Yeah.
So they've become a family to me. They're very important to me because they did change my life.
Yeah. And look, this is a lot about taking back control. And we call it locus of control. And it's about putting that back with you instead of with some outside entity. Now, before we take the break, I have another quiz question for you. What has the biggest impact on improving insulin resistance, which is one of the key elements of diabetes, insulin resistance? A, cutting carbs. B, more medication. C, improving how insulin works in your body. D, exercising more. We'll report the results when we come back. What has the biggest impact on improving insulin resistance? That was our question. Your choices are cutting carbs, more medication, improving how insulin works in your body, and exercising more. 42% of you said cutting carbs. 1% said more medication. 18% said improving how insulin works in your body. And 39% said exercising more. Well, C is correct. Improve insulin function in your body. Dr. Burke, whenever people hear the word reverse, skepticism is healthy and should be, right? Because we're not talking about curing something. We don't cure this, right? But you can reverse it. How so?
Well, the process of developing diabetes isn't just about the blood sugar. It's a disorder of the metabolism. And so when all we do is focus on lowering the blood sugar, we leave the actual problems still simmering under the surface. And that's why people continue to develop complications, even though their blood sugar may be managed. So when we're looking at reversing it, we're looking at changing the metabolism so that it can behave more healthfully again.
For a patient, you might as well be speaking Greek to them when you talk about changing their metabolism, et cetera. But the fact of the matter is, they don't need to understand the biochemical process that's going on at a cellular level, but they do need to understand what levers to pull in their life to come up with that result. And they can understand that to create the underlying result. Fair?
Yes, absolutely fair. So the foods that we choose to eat are what create that response. And so if it goes the wrong way, the blood sugar goes up. When it goes the right way, all of that fuel from the food is used to make energy, and we feel better, the fatigue goes away, the mental clarity improves, all of those things that we lose gradually as the diabetes is developing. So we don't even really recognize how much we've lost by the time we reach that diagnosis.
Now, a lot of people will cite the fact that there is research that says there's a genetic component to this. But that genetic component, there's a difference between phenotype and genotype. And the genes here say who can or who is at higher risk for this. It doesn't dictate who must have this or who will have it. It just means that somebody might be at higher risk for it than somebody else. So that doesn't mean you're destined for it. It just means that your hill might be a little steeper to climb.
Yeah, I like to explain it as your genetics create your vulnerability and your lifestyle creates you.
So even if this is somebody in your family that has had this, that doesn't mean you're going to. It's entirely up to you. And so I don't want people using the excuse that, hey, I'm destined for this. That's not the case, right? The behavioral part of this is still critical.
Absolutely. That's the great news. Because it is caused by behavior and lifestyle. When you change that behavior and lifestyle, you can reverse it.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. It's very exciting when that happens.
And I've said from day one, minute one of my career, when you choose the behavior, you choose the consequences. And this is very true in this regard. Now, the difference between management and reversal is daylight and dark. Because when you're talking about reversal, that is not some hype statement. That's not some claim that is irresponsible or untrue. That is a medically sound claim that the definitions of diabetes, as defined medically in terms of your A1C, your insulin resistance, all of the parameters of diabetes are in fact reversible through the protocol that you advocate and set up for patients to adhere to. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And we actually use even a little stricter criteria before we call someone reverse. So the medical definition of diabetes, as you well know, is a hemoglobin A1C of 6.5 or higher. We determine someone to have their diabetes reversed with a A1C of 5.9 or less and taking no medications to achieve that number.
I want people to think about that because you're saying to get it at
9 or less.
without medication.
Correct.
Okay, which is huge. Let's talk about the other risk factors that go down when your A1C is back under 6. What are all the other things that go back down to a lower risk level when you lower your A1C?
So many, we probably don't have time to list them all, but hypertension, high blood pressure, like Darlene experienced, comes down dramatically. We see reduction in chronic kidney disease and diabetic kidney disease. We see improvement in eye disease, diabetic retinopathy, where people lose their vision. You know, the number one cause of blindness in the US is diabetes. So we see a dramatic improvement in that. We see a decreased risk of Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's risk is higher in people who have diabetes. We see a decreased risk of cancer by about 50% when you reverse diabetes, and the list goes on and on and on. This underlying process of metabolism with the high blood sugar impacts literally every organ system in the body.
Diabetes is the target, but it brings with it a lower risk in so many chronic diseases that longevity is increased and all these other diseases that do get more attention, like cancer, like heart disease, like hypertension, those all go down as well. And that's why this is so critical and so worth talking about. Now, we've talked about the science. Next, we're going to talk about what it looks like when life gets messy, when you're grieving, stressed, and, well, going through the challenges of life. But before we take the break, our final quiz question for the night: which early sign points to insulin resistance before obvious symptoms appear? A, thirst and frequent urination. B, fatigue and sugar cravings. C, stubborn belly fat and rising blood sugar. We'll report the results when we come back.
Because of the decisions, that you make. Every single one is either going to take you to that person that you want to be or take it further away.
The question was, which early sign points to insulin resistance before obvious symptoms appear? Well, here are the results. Thirst and frequent urination got 39%. Fatigue and sugar cravings got 25%, and stubborn belly fat and rising blood sugar got 26%. And the answer is stubborn belly fat and rising blood sugar. Today, we're talking about reversing, not managing, and I want you to really come away with a clear understanding of the difference between managing and reversing. Today, we're talking about reversing type 2 diabetes. Phil reversed his type 2 diabetes using the Diabetes Reversal Group program, but his story also includes a loss, relapse, and recovery. And you were making real progress. Then your life changed overnight. What happened?
Well, my partner of 31 years died this summer. And, I didn't see that coming. Her last day on earth, last full day on earth was the 25th of July. And had she been healthy, she would have defended her world championship that day in Taekwondo. So we did not see her going down the path that she went with her cardiovascular issues.
Very sorry for your loss. That had to be devastating, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your A1C got as high as 6.7,
Yes.
but you had gotten it down to 5.3. That's astounding. That's absolutely astounding to go from a 6.7 to a 5.3. I mean, you should really be proud of that.
Well, there's a pretty wise man that once said that every decision you make either takes you closer to or farther away from the person you want to be. And that's you, Dr. Phil.
Yeah, I've been heard to say that.
Yes. And it was not hard to do, honestly. When my wife died, I had the awareness. I still knew I needed to eat better, but I wasn't doing it. And awareness without action, that's worthless. It's even more than worthless, it's dangerous with diabetes.
Yeah, it is dangerous. And that's why I think that the structure and the accountability that's provided through the Diabetes Reversal Group is so critical. I think willpower is a myth. I'm sorry, I do. I think willpower is a myth. That's why 80% plus of New Year's resolutions have been violated before the 1st of February. What you guys are providing is not just the science and the information that people need and the medical supervision and responsibility, but the coaching, accountability, and encouragement that gets people where they're not just on their own. Because it's easy to do it when you're pumped up and you feel like it. The important thing is to put together a system where you do it when you don't feel like it, where your environment is set up and programmed to support you when the fickle emotions have run out on you. And that's why I love the accountability, structure, and information that the Diabetes Reversal Group provides, because you've got coaching at any time. It's on a daily basis. You've got the medical supervision, so there's no confusion. People don't have to wonder if they're making the right decisions. And that's a critical part from a psychological standpoint. Compliance is made much easier for people. I'm not saying it's easy, it's much easier when you have a support system around you.
No, 100%. And that's what you said. Compliance is the whole ballgame, Dr. Phil. Like, we have the program, we know it works, but people have to actually do it to get better.
Yeah.
It's like having a personal trainer in the gym. As Darlene said, the coach is great because they're going to encourage you when you're doing something great, but give you a kick in the butt when you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And to add on to what Phil said, he got those results, right? A1C went down to 5.3, but while he did that, he got off his meds too. Because he could have just taken a lot more diabetic meds, higher dosages, and the A1C would have came down. But it came down while simultaneously getting off the medications, which is powerful.
Yeah, of course. When we come back, you're going to find out how you can start the first day of the rest of your longer life. We're going to save lives today by talking about this. What have we not hit that we need to?
Well, I just want to make sure everyone who's watching knows that it is reversible, and I wish they took it more seriously. If people that have type 2 diabetes took it as seriously as getting a cancer diagnosis, we have a much better issue.
As I said, if there was a broken leg, you go fix it right now because it's acute. And diabetes doesn't take everything at once. It nibbles away and takes a little at a time until it's the straw that breaks the camel's back and a clot breaks free or a stroke hits or blindness happens. Ignoring it is a choice, and so is doing something about it. And to learn more about the Diabetes Reversal Group, go to drphildiabetes.com. It is the best decision for your health. I promise you that. And it can definitely make a huge difference in your overall health and the risk factor for a lot of other diseases and organ failures. I wouldn't be taking the time to talk about this if it wasn't critically important, and I hope you hear it exactly that way. We'll see you next time.